Oops. Okay. One second. We are here. Josh, how you doing? You look really good, man. Wow.
You're awfully spiffy yourself, Marcus. Hello, everybody.
I'm going to let Josh take it away. Josh is leading us here. We're going to follow your direction. You're the master at the Mobilize. What are we doing here today, Josh? What's going on?
Hey, everyone. First of all, welcome, truly welcome. Thank you for just giving your evening, your time tonight for this very important initiative. If you're someone who already knows or has heard of CalExit, or if you're a first timer just wanting to find out the details, we want to let you know that you're in the right place at the right time. And we know that everyone's coming in with the everyday, the 24-hour news cycle, everything that we're seeing, all the distraction, all of the mayhem, all of the travesty and the tragedy of especially the last couple of months and last week. So we intentionally put some kind of disco-y fun music at the beginning because we want you to know that that there is still a way to capture this moment and have some joy and come into a room where people not only think like you but support you in every aspect. If you are pro democracy and if you're in this room, I think you're probably at least somewhat pro California. This is the place. This is the time for you. Tonight's going to be a little different maybe from any other live stream just because of this is our first time really doing a Mobilize event, and that's far reaching. We are figuring out the bells and whistles of all of that tonight with having all of our speakers, all of our core team here that you'll get to meet in just a few minutes. But tonight isn't a rally. It's not a lecture. And it's definitely not about background noise or anything that we have all become accustomed to, right? All of the things that are distracting us, are distressing us. Tonight is a moment of clarity. Tonight is about connection, about direction. Our goal is to, first of all, inform you, educate you, hopefully excite you some, and then equip you to move forward if you are wanting to join us or learn more about us. This is an open forum. We're going to have a question and answer session towards the end. But we encourage you, even right now, in the chat there on YouTube, if you want to start asking any questions as we get into it, please go ahead and ask them. And we've got folks in the control room here that are taking notes and want to cover any issues, cover any questions. And we understand there's going to be a lot. And that's what we're here for. This is about, again, equipping and educating and informing and exciting everyone. You might, if you follow CalExit, you might recognize a couple of faces. I'll tell you my story a little later, how I came to CalExit. Was pretty recent as far as being involved on this level. If you wonder what is happening in this space, it's about the right now. We believe here, and I'm sure you can just associate it or connect it to your own struggles, your own coalition building, anything that you're involved with on a grassroots level for democracy, is that this is about right now. The words, I mean, what can we say? Immediacy, expediency, urgency, the urgency of now, NOW, cannot be, for I believe, shouted from any higher mountaintop than tonight. And that's why we believe that it's such an important call. But we want you to know that whether you're brand new or you're kind of already in the CalExit army, because we do need one, and we're building that coalition here, that you're in the right place at the right time. So if you want to, even in the chat, tell us it's because this is a statewide call. We hit 5 sections of the state: NorCal, SoCal, Inland Empire in the desert, Bay Area, and Central Valley. So we're hoping that we get a sampling from all of and we'd just love to, if you feel comfortable, to know where you're tuning in from tonight. This will live on the internet. This will live on YouTube and our channel here, so you can share it with other people or come back and rewatch it. And we think that's very important to have record of what we're saying because of the historic nature. But again, We are wanting to be an open vessel, an open avenue of communication tonight. So just everyone take a deep breath. We know this might be new. We know it might be, for some of you, it might be something like you don't know if this is even possible or is this legal. No questions are wrong tonight. So if you are thinking of them, please be sure to include them in the chat. But we're going to move on, and I want to introduce you to someone who is very, very, very special to this movement, really the founder of this movement, of CalExit, and someone that I've gotten to know really, really well in the last few weeks and have come to the space with, and just have come to know the power and everything surrounding CalExit and how it came to be. Marcus Ruiz Evans, he created the movement in 2012. This is a long-standing thing, you guys. This has been going on a while. This has proof. This has receipts, what we like to call receipts. This has experience and expertise. He has been across media platforms in that span of time. The Washington Post interviews, New York Times, been on all kinds of mainstream media interviews throughout this time span. Most notably, Tucker Carlson, and that was way back in those, maybe some modicum of sanity that he did have. But Marcus talked to him. That's no small thing. But I watched that interview recently, and Marcus was saying pretty much the same thing then, back in, I think it was early 2010s, that he is saying now. So he is from Fresno, California, and lives and works there, and attended the University of Southern California, and worked for California government for the last 25 years. So if you would help me welcome the founder of CalExit, Marcus Ruiz Evans. Thanks, Marcus.
Josh, I'm almost going to tear up, man. This is because of Josh. Josh is a veteran, seasoned activist. He got on TV approaching the Senate chambers. She won. He got a bunch of people out to Washington, D.C. He can make activism happen. You're going to meet some other incredible experts here. J.J. Ames will be introducing, and other people. I started this idea in 2012 with the book California's Next Century 2.0. If you go to Amazon.com and type in California's Next Century 2.0, that is the first book ever to talk about California as an independent country in a serious manner. The first media article to talk about CalExit seriously was by Tom Elias. It's called How Would California Do on Its Own in LA Daily News in 2013. And that was a book review of my book. Since then, I've made different organizations: Sovereign California, Yes California, CalExit LLC, and now calexitnow.org and associated affiliates. Here's the key thing for you. Well, let me just add, born and raised in Fresno. I went to USC on scholarship. I've worked for the California government. I've lived in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Sacramento, Central Valley, Inland Empire, and worked in San Diego. So I've lived all over California. I've worked for the California government for a quarter century. I've gone only to California schools. I'm as Cali as it gets. And that's why I'm doing this, because this is a beautiful place. The thing that you all need to understand here, and I'll be done here in just a minute, this is the best time ever. I've been at this 15 years. It's never been this good. We had been trying to reach out to politicians. We had been trying to reach out and educate the public. And there was always kind of a pushback. It was a little bit of, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Are you sure? Now nobody asks any questions. When there are artillery shells launched over the freeway, and not one Republican across America says anything about how fellow Americans could have died, when there are people burned alive in the Palisades and Eaton fire, and there's bodies on the ground, and Donald Trump says, I don't know if I want to give disaster assistance because I'm not sure I like you guys. And then when we have active combat trained Marines sent against the domestic protest, and again, no Republican across America says anything. Well, I want to point out that those three incidents have never happened in U.S. history. So you were in a brand spanking new era. They've never shot artillery shells for fun. They've never sent combat trained Marines against a domestic protest. They've never denied disaster assistance. That's never happened in U.S. history, and it's happening now, and it's happening to you. Additionally, we've never had government officials execute people on video and then do follow-up videos saying, I thought you learned your lesson. I'm sure if you watch YouTube, you could see that. People are very well aware of the threat. We had been saying America's falling apart. We had been saying that this country doesn't share your values since 2016. Nobody wanted to hear that. When we said in 2016, America doesn't share your values, they said, well, Hillary won the popular vote. Hillary won the popular vote by the margin of California alone, which means in 2016, over half of your fellow Americans backed Trump. Then you can look at the 2020 election. Biden won by 2 points. Trump got 48. And then you can look at 2024, where Trump won the popular vote. This is 8 years of this person and about half the country backing him up. He's never been repudiated. His philosophy isn't going away, and it's getting worse. We say this is the best time now because every politician in Sacramento is aware. Every politician in Sacramento saw the artillery shells, saw the disaster relief being denied, saw the Marines, saw Miss Good being killed, saw the way that Trump acts. Everybody's scared. Everybody gets the existential threat. If we can just get a hold of the politicians in Sacramento, we have a great plan for them. And that's why I mean it's the best time ever. 6 months ago, I couldn't have told you with confidence that we could approach politicians in Sacramento and they would be willing to do this. Our whole plan for the last 15 years was to collect enough signatures to qualify a ballot initiative. And then when that qualified, politicians would come out and support it after it's qualified. We are doing that, but we've also realized the time is ripe and we can go to politicians directly. It's not a hard sell. Everybody's seen it, so we can go directly to the power structure. This is an opportunity we have not had in 15 years. It's never been better. Now, a couple things. Everybody's going to cover more of this, but here's some statistics you should know. 48% of all Republicans, according to a survey last year, LA Times, view all of you watching this as not American. 48% of all Republicans view everyone watching this as not American. 67% of Republicans in that survey said California is nothing but a net negative. That means 67% of all Republicans mean you do nothing positive at all, and everything you do is bad and wrong. 83% also said they would never move here. And like I wanted to point out, there was no protests from any Republicans when Marines were sent on us, artillery was sent, we could have died, or disaster assistance happened. The opportunity to become independent is there. JJ will cover it more. There's something called Texas versus White. Most politicians do not know two key facts. One, it's legal to become independent, and two, we could easily get the votes. That's why we're reaching out to you, because most of the politicians don't know what we're going to tell you. It is legal, and you can get the votes, and it's a simple majority. So I'm going to stop there. That's to wind you up. And the next person we're going to go to is, I need to introduce Rachel. So let me introduce you to Rachel. Rachel is a lifelong activist, and she is a She Won organizer. Rachel, could you say a little bit?
To the stage. There we go.
There you go. Gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I am born and raised San Franciscan, love California, love the Bay Area. And I thank you for hearing me out tonight. I am an activist who did my first protest in San Francisco at age 5. And I became really, as I said, I've always done activism, but most recently recognizing that something was wrong on election night, that something didn't seem right. And one thing that we won't get into tonight, but the She Won campaign has to do with not just election, it has to do with election subversion. And that I realized something was wrong. We talked about the 4 a.m. club and how people's votes were taken. And one of the things I began to realize recently was, we could go out there and educate people about that. We can talk to them about what we've seen, the receipts we have for that piece. But the big problem is the Electoral College. The Electoral College really is inherently unfair as it stands now. we could have everyone in this country vote this, everyone in California vote the same, and we'd still lose because of the Electoral College. We remove the Electoral College, well, then it's unfair to the rest of the country. But what we've learned, what I've learned from the statistics that Marcus shared, what we're going to hear again from JJ, and what Josh, my good friend, has said, is that many don't share our values, and it's really to a point where they don't care about us. They don't care about other people. They don't care about people succeeding. It's you. If someone succeeds, it's you're taking from me, and they pit people against one another. I want to get back to the ideals that America was supposed to stand for, which it never did, because really it was for white Christian males. We have an opportunity to change that and really have one person, one vote, so that everybody's votes count. JJ and Marcus will get into some of the things that we can do on day one as a sovereign California. I'll give you a couple sneak peeks. 1, healthcare for all. 2, codify Roe v. Wade. And think about this. Sorry, don't hit me for this. But instead of being the beacon on the hill, we could be the beacon on the beach. Think about it. We could be the place that everyone comes to. Instead of going to Mexico or Canada to escape this craziness, they could come to California. So thank you for coming. Thank you for hearing us out. And I will turn it back over.
Okay, we're going to go to Josh. Let me add Josh in. Josh, would you like to say?
We're going to launch that video from the She Won campaign and take a look at that, and then I'll be ready to take it from there.
She Won DJT?
Yes, that's it.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes. And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon.
During criticism now from Elon Musk on social media, just responding to the president's event in the Oval Office a short time ago. Elon Musk posting on X, his social media platform, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate." He goes on to post 2 words, "such ingratitude."
It was so sad because I said, can you imagine, I'm not going to be president. And that's too bad. And then what happened is they rigged the election and I became president. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. That was quite an achievement for both of us. So
well, he's going to get a 3rd term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
If we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Had I not had a rigged election, had the election not been rigged, I would have been out of here. I would have been gone. The radical left would have said, we got rid of him finally.
Wow, that shocks me every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Sobering.
It's almost like a collective, like, check your pulse, because when we've shown that that video is about a couple of months old, and when we've shown it to rooms of people, some of the reactions are like, is that AI? Like that they don't even realize that all of that has been said, and it's really easy to forget in the mix of all the stuff that we are going through. And I will just pick up where my friend Rachel I kind of left off and give you a little bit of history about me, just so it kind of makes sense. My husband and I are pastors in West Hollywood, California. We moved here from Nashville, Tennessee about 17 years ago, and realized there was a need for what this type of inclusive space and community and spirituality. We wanted to provide that to the West Hollywood community. And so we became full-on Californians in the midst of doing that in community work and activism. And after November of last year, of 2 years ago now, 2024, everything that we had done up to that point started to make even more sense in the respect that can this really be changed? I'm going to ask her really maybe kind of put me out on a flimsy limb or an unpredictable response coming at me, but when I'm reminded, you all, of what is being said and what is happening day by day to undermine our free and fair elections, is one question I ask rooms, and you've maybe been in one of the rooms that I've asked this to, is, do you believe that if this regime is still in power this time, or in 11 months from now, that truly, ask yourself this, will our elections be free and fair? I know what my answer is. I do not believe it, and I don't believe it on a really surface level. And then with all of the research and data and all of the grassroots work that we have done with the She Won campaign and an organization called Election Truth Alliance that we helped found back in January, as well as protesting on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on January 6th of last year, trying to invoke the 14th Amendment, Section 3, and yelling or getting our elected officials in what was left in the Biden, those folks, that administration, to hear our cry that we had a constitutional lever that we could have pulled, that an adjudicated insurrectionist, which Donald J. Trump is, cannot hold office. So none of that happened, right? So we jump into the space, and I'm sure as many of you have been and are continuing to be, you've been in a lot of rooms this past year. A lot of rooms maybe like this, a lot of rooms in your community or neighborhood, on a Signal chat or otherwise, or just your family and your circle of friends that are distressed and worried about what is happening here. And what made me stop down and really consider, because I'd heard about Cal Exit, and I had kind of sent Marcus a message a long time ago, and then we lost touch, and then here we are after a year, right? And
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry for ignoring the message a long time ago.
Look, we all started to run, right? We all got in our lanes and started to run, and we're throwing everything at the wall, trying to stop this from happening. Start trying to coalesce, trying to organize, mobilize, all those words. But as I come into today, into January the 14th of 2026, you all, I don't believe we can vote our way out of this. I don't think we can. And because we are relying on the old rules and the, whatever you want to call them, the Republicans, the regime, the Nazis, the people that are in charge now that have the keys, that the fascists, their gig is it's not elections, right? That's not their thing. If it is, it's a stage performance, it's theater, it's performative, and that we see what they're already doing to manipulate and compromise from their very lofty, very powerful position. And I want to also relate this to let me back up. So being in all these rooms, right, and we're all trying to support one another. We hear everything that's going on from the rallies and the protests and the organizing and the targets of all of the travesty and injustice and sadness and now death and torture, really, of the American people, terrorization of the American people in the streets, and no one's protecting our First Amendment rights. And I know that we talk about the how, and this is just my personal, like, you don't have to agree, but I know we always are coming into the rooms talking about the what, rather. We're talking about, oh my gosh, this is the what. This is the what. This is what is happening. This is, we are reacting together. We are mourning together and frustrated and outraged and enraged together. But what spoke to me about CalExit is it's the how. It's solution oriented. There's over a decade of experience and research and policy and relationships with people that are electeds from Sacramento to DC, people that know about this. And to me, seeing something on paper and hearing the experience and the expertise, and you'll get to hear our expert from with so much to say and really does have the receipts tonight. To me, I have not been in a room with that much credibility, or saying, hey, any question that I've asked, and that I've asked a lot, and I've been in a room where other questions have been asked that are like, what if, how do we do this? And I have not seen when those questions have not been answered and backed up with information, receipts, research, relationships. So it's very important that I wanted to say that, because that's how I was pretty much sold on signing up and being a full, fan of CalExit, not only a fan, but an active member and a volunteer. And that's what we're asking for your help and consideration tonight. But again, what are we willing to do? Whatever it takes. I'm of the mind frame and the mindset now that with everything that's happening, and that nothing is changing, and that now we are inserting ourselves in situations where we want to speak peace, but the people on the other side do not. Their chosen language is violence, and because we refuse to speak that back, they don't care. So I came to California 17 years ago. I have my own kind of, I don't know if you want to call it an immigrant kind of thing, but I kind of relate to that. And look, I'm not relating it to everyone who's coming from war-torn or being threatened in their own home country. But I came from a very specific, very small town, very rural city in Middle Tennessee. And I knew that I could never love who I wanted to love, never be who I truly wanted to be there. So I knew if I could get to California, if I could get to Los Angeles or wherever, just to get to, because I knew what it meant. And what it means, you all, is that California is and has always been the quintessential manifestation of the original American dream. The values are, and the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I see it the most, and have always seen it the most, even before I lived here in California. Yeah, and the diversity, the picture and the definition of that in California. We have everything necessary to be independent. We have everything necessary. We have it in our hands. It's not something we have to go for. We have all of the resources, all of the people, the power, the purpose, the position here right now. And so the right now of it spoke to me, and I was like, oh, look around. We have this. We can do this. And we have an expert, experts and people that have been in it for a long time that are bringing all of that experience, all of that relationship from many different levels, from elected officials to organizing groups, all of those important aspects for what it takes for a movement like this. There is no time like now. And we just want to, again, stress the urgency of now, and that we want to, to realize that we are so, what your presence here and what we are doing in this moment is just key and vital to the success and the next steps. And what we're going to ask is not, a big deal to get this kind of kicked off and started. We're looking at this as kind of like an express launch of the CalExit Now platform and initiative and campaign. But we're, because of the urgency of now, and that this can happen not in a few years, you all, this can start next week. So that was another thing that spoke to me. And I'll just say finally what sold me on saying yes to this, because to me, nothing else we are doing or saying is really working. It's not changing. They're not leaving. So I am running towards a solution where if they're not going to leave us, then maybe, just maybe, we can leave them. With that, I'm going to turn things back over to Marcus, and we will pick up here at the end with question and answers. But thank you, guys.
We're going to go to JJ here in just a second, but I want to take a second, everybody. If we need you to sign up, we need you to help. We have a plan. JJ's going to outline it here. You can go to calexitnow.org/act-now. That's calexitnow.org/act-now. Here's the thing. If you're watching this on YouTube, whatever YouTube channel you're watching, if you click the description, there'll be a link to that page in the description. You don't have to type the URL in. Go to the description on the video you're watching. It'll be there, and you can join us right there. If you have any questions at all, volunteer at calexit.now. But we really like you to go and fill out the form at calexit.now, calexitnow.org/act-now. It's also in the description. Let's go to JJ. JJ, are you there? And I'm going to bring you into the stage. JJ, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Marcus. How about yourself?
Pretty good. This is going very well. Let me introduce you real quick. So JJ Ames is the expert. He's been a DC insider. He has 40 years of experience. He teaches the American federal government at a university. He's run 74 campaigns in 9 states. He's a professor, former FEMA speechwriter, head speechwriter for U.S. Minority Business Development. We have a picture right here. And I met JJ just a few months ago. He came out of nowhere and said, I'm in. It's time to do this. We spent about an hour on the phone just agreeing with each other. And the thing that I always like to ask people is, how come this guy I've never met before and I are saying the same thing? Teaching fellow, University of Oklahoma, senior speechwriter, strategic communications, FEMA, also head speechwriter, FEMA, also head speechwriter, Department of Commerce, and he also works at the Graduate School of Political Management. JJ, why should we CalExit? And then what is this fantastic plan that Josh keeps alluding to? Sir.
Now, Marcus, I'm going to get to all that in just a couple of minutes. I just want to welcome everyone who's on the call. And start it this way. My friends, if you live near a dairy farm or a garbage dump, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind is blowing. In 2026, if you live in the United States, you don't need Nostradamus to tell you that this country is a single triggering event away from the start of Civil War 2.0. And if you're a Californian in 2026 and you've seen active duty Marines deployed to the city streets of Los Angeles, ICE raids at schools, churches, and hospitals, National Guardsmen federalized over the governor's objection, fire victims denied disaster relief because we're not nice enough to a wannabe dictator, and live artillery shells falling out of the sky onto the 5 freeway, you don't need a flashing neon sign to know that the next 37-year-old citizen to have their face blown off by a federal agent could very easily come from Orange County or San Francisco or Burbank or San Diego or all of the above and more. The truth is, the next victim of America's conversion to full-blown fascism could be anyone on this call, our friend, our neighbor, or a loved one. But I'll come back to that. Let's start with the understanding that California is a donor state. We send $400 billion a year to Washington, a portion of which contributes to the operating budgets of 35 states. Californians fix roads and build bridges in Alabama for people who hate us. Californians keep the water clean in Arkansas and West Virginia for people who hate us. At the same time, California can't establish universal health care, pass common sense gun legislation, mandate equal rights for all Californians, fully protect women's rights and LGBTQ rights, or guarantee the principle of one person, one vote, as proposed solutions to these catastrophic dilemmas are rendered unobtainable by an obstructionist Congress, a Supreme Court bought and paid for by billionaire conservative donors, and a crime family operating out of the Oval Office by executive fiat. 70 years of DC debate on universal health care, 60 years of inaction on common sense gun control. Roe is not only overturned, but used as a precursor for a national abortion ban, elimination of same-sex marriage, effective criminalization of transgender status. All the while, ICE agents who murder citizens on national television are rewarded with taxpayer-paid salaries and bonuses of well in excess of $250,000 a year and shielded from prosecution by the most powerful nation on earth. And remember, the same DC band of thugs responsible for all of this have reminded us over and over again, California is next. Why Cal exit? The answer is as plain as the dump in Trump's diaper. There is one path to universal health care for all. There is one path to true equal rights for all. There is one path to common sense gun legislation, a true living wage, free and fair elections, protection of women's, minority, and LGBTQ rights, an end to the homeless crisis, and an end to the nightmare which has become every moment of every day in the lives of immigrant Californians. And that path is CalExit and a sovereign California. A sovereign California will be what was promised to Americans by the founders of the United States in 1787, but was never delivered. It won't be maggots that make America great. It will be the founders of a sovereign California that will, for the very first time, deliver on a 250-year-old promise. So how do we do it? Believe it or not, the answer was given to us directly by the Supreme Court of the United States in a case decided in 1868 called Texas versus White. Texas versus White started out telling us that unilateral secession is unconstitutional. No problem for CalExit. That's not what we're doing here anyway. The good news is the court didn't stop there. They went on to say that separation by consent of the states is permissible. And that is where we and all of you come in. Many of the most well-regarded constitutional scholars in the land suggest that what the court meant by consent of the states amounts to a simple majority of state congressional delegations in Congress, meaning 26, voting to permit a state to withdraw from the United States. So how do we get there? The process is not as difficult as one might think. First, we lobby the California legislature and secure one member of the state Senate and one member of the General Assembly in order to secure a joint resolution in support of exploring all lawful and peaceful means of separation. Immediately after securing the joint resolution, we again lobby the state legislature, in this case, securing 10 legislative champions in each chamber to support a bill authorizing the governor to appoint a blue ribbon commission to officially explore and return a report to the governor on the legality, feasibility, and viability of pursuing all lawful means of peaceful separation. Finally, after a ballot initiative and vote of the people demonstrating popular support for separation and establishment of a sovereign California, a negotiating team will be sent to Washington to lobby the various state congressional delegations in an effort to secure the 26 votes necessary to permit the peaceful and lawful separation of California from the United States. Now, that sounds like something that could take generations to achieve at a time when the continuing viability of the American experiment is called further into question every minute. But in truth, it's a process which has literally already begun, could reach critical mass before the end of the current school year, And were the ballot initiative to be called in the form of a special election, as was Prop 50, a negotiating team could literally be on its way to D.C. before the 2026 midterm elections. My time is kind of up at the moment. And of course, there will be countless questions and a need for further detail. And there will be plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the overall presentation. For now, it is simply my purpose to inform everyone that there is hope. In fact, there's more than hope. There are means, motive, and method. And that is what CalExit is all about. Why and how. Thank you very, very much for your attention. Thank you, Marcus, for having me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation.
Okay, let me just summarize real quick, and then we're going to bring everybody on for questions. You can ask anything. The big idea is that politicians are ready to hear this message. We didn't think that 6 months ago. We didn't think that a year ago. We didn't think that 3 years ago. We didn't think that 10 years ago. In the last 3 to 4 months, things have changed in a way we haven't seen in over a decade. We think politicians can be appealed to directly. JJ, with his 40 years of experience working in Washington, D.C., and knowing the ins and outs of lobbying, has figured out you can call for a resolution. It takes 2 politicians to start the call for the resolution. A resolution can be done in 1 month. Now, we're not giving deadlines, but it can be done in 1 month. And I want you to picture this. What happens when the California government comes forward and says, we have a resolution saying that America is falling apart, we're scared of it, and we want to have an investigation on if we could become independent. Everybody here, and this is how we got Josh and Rachel, understood that the moment that's announced, that's global news. You haven't made CalExit happen. A vote hasn't been called for. The government hasn't even said they endorse this. All they've said is they issued a resolution saying a blue ribbon panel investigation would be a good idea. It takes 2 legislators to make that happen, and you get global news. When global news happens, we call it a new platform, meaning everybody in America, everybody around the world is going to hear about this, all the politicians. JJ's plan is then after you have them sign the resolution, which is easy to get them to do, about 2 days later, you ask them to propose a bill calling for the blue ribbon panel investigation. The blue ribbon panel investigation is something California does multiple times per year. They do it on changing SNAP benefits. They do it on changing welfare levels. They do it on changing childhood education. We're just going to have them convene a panel of experts to investigate the idea of if California could be independent, what it would be like, and what would that go for. Obviously, as the world's 4th largest economy, we think there's a good chance they're going to go to yes. But this is the point. We didn't ask them to vote for independence. We didn't ask them to propose a vote for independence. What we said was, given that we're on a yacht and it's sinking, can we say that now's a good time to have a discussion about building a life raft? And hey, we want the best experts to look into that. I'm not saying what's up. We want you to make a statement saying, given that that woman was shot in the face, that people were burned alive and he denied disaster assistance, that artillery shells were shot over the 5 freeway, and if Gavin Newsom hadn't shut it down, 30 people would have been mutilated. These are incredible times. Everybody knows that. So what's wrong with saying having a group of experts come together to investigate this and tell us what the facts are? Again, you don't have to back CalExit. You don't have to call for a vote. You're saying things are so crazy. Why can't you guys call and say that an investigation of experts is a good idea? The resolution happens in 1 month. Moment we have them lobbied for that, we ask them to push the actual law that will call for that investigation. The investigation is going to cause an epiphany. The moment they push that resolution, it's global news. The moment they approve the call for the blue ribbon panel, it's extra global news. The moment that panel starts convening, it's global news. Each one of these news bites will push Californians to a new height of understanding. And why do we know that? Because the only thing keeping this from happening is that the politicians and the public don't know what JJ said. Texas versus White is a court case. it does say you can leave with consent of the states. I've told 35 reporters that, and none of them will print it. Every politician doesn't know about Texas versus White. They don't know that you could become independent, and they don't know that we have the votes. That's why I brought up 48% of Republicans say you're not American. 67 say you're nothing but scumbags. 83 say I'll be here over my dead body. Nobody protested when people were burned alive, disaster assistance was denied, or Marines were sent against the domestic protest, none of that which happened. So this is the point. We have the votes and we have a legal path, and nobody in Sacramento knows that. Your job is to get them to know that. JJ has already identified 22 legislators. There are 120. He's already picked the top 22. We're going to give you that list if you sign up. And you can do so here at calexitnow.org/act now. We have an email script. You don't have to think about anything. You just send the email script. We have a phone script. You don't got to think about anything. You just say off the phone script. We have a list of 22 politicians with phone numbers and emails. You don't have to do homework. You don't have to prep anything. It all just happens. So we've got the names of people. Keep showing that sign. It was great. We've got the 22 politicians for you to contact. We've got the email script. We've got the phone script. We just need you. And we have a resolution already drafted by J.J. Ames with 40 plus years in Washington, D.C. that's ready to go. So even the politicians don't have to do anything. That's why Josh kept saying this is really dialed in. You don't have to think about what to do. We're going to give you the names. We're going to give you the call script. We're going to give you the email script. We've already got them identified. They already have the phone numbers and emails. We just need you to sign up. And then once they agree, we're going to give them the resolution JJ's already written. It's as done as it can be. And we think that this can happen in 1 month. And we think that the moment that the resolution is announced, it's going to be global news. And we think that once it's global news, everybody in California is going to be talking about this. And then when they do that, they're all going to be aware that there is a legal path and we have the votes. Let's go to Josh. I'm also going to bring Rachel in.
Good. Thanks so much. Yeah. I was trying to put that back up, and I was kind of clicking through the all the banners to put that video back up that's about to sign up. That clearly shows how to do it and where to go. I just want to say this, and I think now that we are coming into this relationship with you all, and if you're have been watching the whole time, again, thank you. I think there's something to be said about authenticity and realness, because we are facing so much BS, so much duplicity, so many things that are truly unbelievable, and the trust has really left the room, or the atmosphere, or the places that we used to call home or used to call safe. But I want to be real with you guys. I equate it to this, that California is in an abusive relationship with the United States of America. Now take that how you will, but what else do we as Californians, as being with our values, with the California values that we so proudly claim and also exhibit, what is it our duty? Is it our obligation to lead here? This actually is not exclusive. This is not leaving any other state or any other really American behind. This is the most inclusive thing that we can do here as Californians, with the power and the position and the people that we have. It is because we can lead and others can follow. We can be the template here for other states that want to say, hey, maybe we could separate, maybe we could leave. But how many of you know that the rule that I now is almost like a secondary golden rule in the spaces that we all live in and operate, is that how about putting our oxygen mask on first so we can help the rest of of California, of the United States, and the world. This is not just a state, USA-based kind of effect. This is world changing. This is history making. This has never been done before. And like they said about the folks that were involved and have done historical research and reported on the Nuremberg trials, is that they had never before been through anything like that. Therefore, they had to make new rules. They had to make new laws. They had to try other things because this had never happened before. Well, guess what? Guess what has never happened before? We have never had an authoritarian, a fascist regime have the keys. They're not listening. They're not complying to any other branch. So why would we think that any election is going to change that? So again, as Californians, what does it matter? What does it mean to us to be those pioneers? There weren't thousands of people in the room when all this started. There were a few leaders that were doing the thing that had never been done before. Well, I encourage you that this is trailblazing and that you can be part of that and to own it as a Californian or someone who supports California. Maybe we got some folks watching from out of state. Look, we need everybody, every single person. This is not a spectator sport here. We need participation from you and from people that you know that might be interested. Sit down and talk to people about this if you're interested. Tell them like, hey, have you heard about this? And start the conversation there. We've got all kinds of videos like this, and we will be having more conversations like this in the future with experts and founders and all of folks, and maybe some new people that are coming into the fold. But this is moving. This is we're leaving the old and coming into the new because we have to. And right now, it's more than a have to, it's a privilege. We get to do this right now. It's a get to, and because we may not get to do this because we may not have another next time. Again, you guys, this is a doable, this is a real thing. This is a right now thing. We're not talking about next month, we're talking about next week, literally, how this can start. And we're going to make it really easy for you to be involved. And you can be involved as you want. I mean, we want true believers and people believe that we can change this as Californians. But I'll just say finally, and then we'll get to the questions and answers and the session there. But this, again, it may seem big, it may seem new, but it is true. Let it be big. It is. And we can do this now more than ever because of where we are. Californians are leaders. They're innovators. They are builders. They're thinkers. They're learners. They're freedom fighters. They're justice warriors. I'm sure everyone checks on several of those boxes, if not all of them here on this call. This is a real thing, you all. It's real. We just encourage you to ask the questions, stay involved, even if you're just listening and still being convinced. That's okay. We get it. But this is a now, NOW, right now, immediate thing, initiative, grassroots mobilization, all those words, all those things that we hear in our regular coalitions. But this is what's happening. This is a campaign. And there's policy, there's experience, there's expertise behind it. And I would challenge you to compare it maybe to all of the things that you're hearing, or maybe what you're even involved with, and how it compares to a solution on paper, literal answers to questions on paper, and how to move forward. Again, you guys, this is something that's quick. It's really easy to get involved. It's legal, it's real, and it's now.
Josh, please, Rachel, please.
I was going to say, I know there are a lot of questions, but there are two questions that have come up repeatedly. And so I just want to throw these out here. I can let you and JJ answer. If we are this donor state that's giving them so much money, why would they let us leave? Why would they quote unquote allow us to leave? And why would they give up that money?
Okay, we'll do that, and then we're going to keep going back. So I want to toggle between questions, and then the JJ and I can answer, and then questions on lobbying that you and Josh have done that. So we'll go we'll go for like a minute or two. So we'll toggle. We'll do a question, then we'll do a little bit of lobbying, the question. So JJ, take a shot at that. Why would Republicans let us go when we provide so much money?
The answer is really very simple, Marcus, and that is that when California separates, and we don't use the word secession, this is a separation, and when California separates, the 50 to 52 Democratic Congress people from California will no longer be in Washington. And what that means to red states and to Republicans is that Democrats will never again have a majority in the House of Representatives for as long as the remainder of the United States continues to exist. There is every incentive in the world for Republicans to want to separate from California so that they can continue to control whatever they want to control in what remains of the United States for as long as that remains.
The other, so what JJ's saying is, I'm trying to find this file, but it won't let me. So what JJ's saying is they want to win elections. Why do you think they're rigging elections now? Why do you think they rigged them before? Because they can't win. So we're going to let them win elections. And as you know, Trump likes being seen as a savior, and they already like cheating. So we think that they're going to be more concerned about winning elections than anything. The other thing is, Republicans don't know we're a donor state. So I have the graphic. I can send you the link. LA Times did an article where they pointed out how when the Republicans were in Congress last time Trump was president, they literally held a hearing in Congress with all the Republicans where they said they subsidize California and we are the welfare state. The LA Times did an editorial saying that's so backwards. We subsidize you. I've done a lot of conservative shows. If you ask conservatives, are you aware that we subsidize you guys? And that when you talk about how you're better at economics and better at running money, that actually isn't true. Us liberal commies, Californians actually make so much money. We subsidize all you guys. They don't know that. And they literally held a hearing in Congress saying the total opposite. So, and then I always ask people, name that Republican who said, California actually subsidizes us. This is the thing. Can anyone name one Republican in the last 30 years who ever said California is a donor state and subsidizes 35 of us red state welfare queens? You can't, because none of them have done it. So if none of it said that, and they held a hearing in Congress saying the opposite, how do we know that they know we're a donor state? On top of the fact that what JJ said, well, they'll just get the votes. Okay, let's do a little bit of Rachel, Josh. How has it been going calling the lobbying people? And then we'll do another big question.
Rachel, you want to take that? I think you are kind of at the top of that list because you've done so much work on it and kind of school us on that initiative. And again, it's something that we're going to equip everyone with. So it will be literally opening an email and seeing the steps to take this next move forward.
It's just in process. Essentially, there's a form that you go to arrange a meeting, and I've sent a couple of those. Haven't wanted to get a little more information. I do have some connections with folks, but do want to go a different route for the time being. But it's fairly straightforward. They're very open to it. You can go to Sacramento, you can go to their office, and they're very responsive. So I don't have a lot to report right now, but I will in the very, very near future.
But it's not hard and it's not painful, and it was relatively easy for you guys to do with the list of 22 people and the scripts already defined. Is that fair?
Very fair. And just a lot of the events I go to, a lot of the people I want to talk to are going to be there anyway. So whether it be in person, excuse me, or just through their regular channels. I expect to hear back within several days.
Okay.
Yeah.
JJ, we're going to do another question. I'm going to shoot it out to you. Here's that article I was talking about. GOP says lower tax states are subsidizing California. It's the other way around. So, like, they don't know. They do. I'm an ex-Republican. I left with Mitt Romney. I felt the party was going to be racist, but 2017, there it is. They're in Congress and they're going, no, we actually subsidize you. So they don't know that. But why do they think that? Because all they do is talk about how we subsidize undocumented immigrants and LGBTQ surgeries, and we can't manage our force, and so we must be bad at money. And they're always about low taxes and low regulations, so they must be good at money. That's all they say. To actually hear, sorry, you've got it wrong, those commies, I know we're not, are better at money than you, and they subsidize you, and you're the welfare queens, that would blow up their minds. They can't handle that. It's been that way. We've subsidized 35 cents since the late 1970s, 45 years. They can't admit that. JJ, let's go to another question. What about Social Security? What happens with Social Security, JJ?
Great question. And the answer is also, again, not as earth-shaking or life-altering as you might think. Let's say we get to the point where a negotiating team is sent to Washington, and we secure the 26 simple majority of state congressional delegations to support separation. There will then be an extremely complex set of negotiations between a sovereign California and the United States. Who owns the federal property that currently sits in California? How much does California have to pay for that property? Who owns the military bases? Who owns the military equipment on the military bases? What will the continuing rights of Californians be to receive Social Security? What are the prospects of dual citizenship? All of these matters will be open to question, along with how much of the existing United States national debt will be assumed by California. All of these questions are not going to be resolved in a day, a week, a month, or perhaps even a year. But they will all be resolved at some point in time. And rest assured, any Californians who are currently collecting Social Security, that Social Security retention by Californians will be a top priority. And most certainly, the percentage of current United States national debt that is assumed by California will take into account the requirement, the demand, the absolute certainty that Californians receiving Social Security or who have contributed to Social Security continue to receive those benefits.
I have another question for you, but I'm going to handle this one real quick. So
Sure.
This is another question. One of the things we say is we want you to have dual citizenship. So if you're an American citizen, they have to send you your Social Security check anywhere in the world. California becomes independent. We never said you're getting up your American citizenship. You can be a dual citizen. America does that for Canada, England, Israel. So why can't they do it for us? That's what JJ's alluding to. I got a question for you, JJ. This isn't it. Hold on. This is the question of how much support does CalExit have right now? Well, let's go right to the source. Whoops, let me get rid of that. 58% last year said they would be better off if California left the union and had a friendly relationship. That's Newsweek. Most Californians believe they'd be happier if the state left. We don't use that word. We say independence. 58%. Now I want to go to this main comment here. How are we going to get all those red state votes? Let's cover that one more time. Our plan is to get, we think the Republicans will let go because of the elections and that they don't know where the donor state. There was another question I needed to cover. JJ, here we go. What about working with blue states? Can we work with blue states? Is this something other blue states could pick up?
First of all, would it be easier to have a West Coast coalition? No, because that would require 3 blue ribbon commissions in 3 states to move forward simultaneously. As Josh alluded to earlier, if a plane is going down, you put your mask on first before you help someone else put their mask on. Now, this is not to say that in the end, it wouldn't be desirable to have that coalition exist. 10 years ago, when I first started to write about this, I began writing about it because we all need to understand one thing. Nations form and maintain based upon commonality of interest. If you look at what happened in 1787, whether you lived in Maine or Georgia, the northernmost and southernmost of the 13 colonies, there was a commonality of interest. The commonality of interest was that everyone wanted to get away from the king. The Constitution that was drafted in 1787 was drafted by old white men who owned property for the benefit of old white men who owned property at a time when the nation was 3.5 million people, all on the East Coast, and when the people who signed that document didn't even know where the Pacific Ocean was. They didn't know where the land ended. There could not possibly have been an intent to have a document drafted in a nation that was at that time the least diverse nation on earth, ever apply to 335 million people in the most diverse nation on earth. So now, would we like to see other states come in? When I divided the country up 10 years ago, and when I started writing about this, I said that the biggest problem that we were having in the country was that we had been masquerading as one country for about 150 years. We're not one country. We're the Northeast, again, based upon commonality of interest. We're the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, the Mountain States, and the Far West. And in my Far West sovereign nation, that was California, Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii. And when Gavin Newsom formed his healthcare consortium, who are presently members of that healthcare consortium? California, Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii. And in the end, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, maybe 20 years from now, the sovereign nation of California becomes the sovereign nation of the Far West, or whatever we want to call it, and includes California, Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii. However, if we wait to act until that time, there will be no opportunity to act. Marcus formed this entity over 10 years ago now. And 10 years ago, this could not possibly have happened. And 10 years from now, it will also be impossible for it to happen, because we could be a completely fascist entity at that point in time. The time is now, as Josh said, and we are the ones to make it happen.
Sure. And if I could add really quickly, just because we're talking about just we talked so much about elections and what the only way to, democracy pretty much equals election, right? Like that's how democracy functions and operates. It's by the people, for the people. There's a commercial, there's already an experiment that has been run statewide here in California, and it's called Prop 50. Just a few months ago, you all think of the overwhelming response, how it passed with flying colors, all of that is, if not adjacent to, undergirds the premise of CalExit. I've been in rooms where people are saying all the CalExit stuff, they just don't name it as CalExit. But people are already having those conversations. And that's what we hope tonight is that you bring this to your realm of conversation, your circle of influence, because it is something that we have to share and spread and make real.
And another way, if I may, to help frame that too, is think about it like a commercial. You're on a highway, right? And we'll just keep with the left-right scenario. On the right is a bought and sold Supreme Court. Nah, I'll go left and I'll go to a sovereign California. On the right is basically the Handmaid's Tale. Nah, I think I'll go CalExit. It's not running away, seceding, and saying, you know what? We don't need to do that. We want to save 40 million lives, get them in order, get people their rights, get people dignity, healthcare, and then we can bring more people over. We can be that place again. Instead of going to Canada or to Mexico, which are still options, they can come to sovereign California.
And let me just say at the top of that list, we've already had discussions in the very small rooms that we are in with CalExit. Is that top of the list is pathway to citizenship for Americans to California. We're not leaving people. We have to be those oxygen mask first timers to then show everyone and get everyone here that wants to come. And that's why I say that it really is the most inclusive American dream-esque scenario that that has ever been. And we have the privilege to do it now.
Marcus,
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I saw a question in there. Someone brought up something about NATO. So I think that's an important question as well.
Yeah. Sure. We'll do the military first. So let's do military. JJ, what about California's military, NATO, and what about the military bases? How do we defend ourselves? Can we join NATO? All that. And what happens to the U.S. military bases, JJ?
First, with respect to the bases, the bases are federal property today, as of today. And we, again, as I mentioned earlier, will be involved in a complex negotiation, which would include what is the value of the federal land in California to California. All of that land will ultimately become California, and it will just simply depend upon, again, what portion of the existing United States debt is California willing to assume. If we are successful in moving this forward at the pace that we think we can, we would end up dealing with either Donald Trump directly or a negotiating team put forth by Donald Trump, who thinks that he's the grand deal maker, but has always ended up coming out on the short end of the deal. He's bankrupted 6 corporations, and he's taking the United States down financially right now as well. Just simply look at the tariff situation. Virtually every competent economist on the planet suggested that the tariffs would be a disaster, and would if the Supreme Court would rule against him in the tariff case that's now pending, which the decision could come out any day now, then we would be in significantly worse financial shape because of the critical business acumen of Donald J. Trump. So with respect to the military bases, they're pieces of property that are for sale for a price which is to be agreed upon by buyer and seller. So they are there, they will be there, they're not going anywhere, and that's what I can tell you about the military bases. And with respect to NATO, let me tell you that the first phone call that would be received by the newly elected president of the sovereign nation of California, with the very first phone call that would come in from NATO. California is currently the 4th largest economy in the world, and when California leaves, it will have a larger GDP than the remaining United States of America. If I'm NATO, do I want to not allow the 4th largest economy in the world to come in and participate and join NATO? I don't think so.
NATO was emphatic when Finland joined. You all saw that. They got, was it Finland or Sweden to join, and that was all over the place. So they're going to turn down the world's 4th largest economy that has more money than most members of NATO? That doesn't make sense. Additionally, NATO's not super happy with the U.S. They'd like more reasonable partners. Finally, America leases military bases in about 150 countries. It pays them money. Djibouti is a small African country. They get $300 million a year for their base. It's tiny compared to ours. So if a small African republic gets $300 million and they have about a 20th of the amount of bases we do, how much money do we get? America does this all the time. Finally, I do need to point this out. Kat, you're close. Actually, California, because the American military is so large and because we subsidize so much, if we spent just the amount that we contribute to the U.S. military now on our own, we'd have the world's 3rd most resourced military. That means bigger than Russia. So we don't tie with Italy and UK. We dwarf them because of the amount of money. Additionally, Who has the most active duty reserves? California. Veterans? California. Members of all 4 military branches? California. Most Marines, Air Force, Navy bases per capita? California. So we're crawling with troops. We're crawling with expertise. They'll still need us. They can rent out the bases, and we would be the 3rd most resourced military overnight if we were independent. Additionally, we're going to be in NATO, right? And we're also talking about once you join NATO, you're going to join NAFTA. So trade is going to be exactly the same, and defense is going to be exactly the same. JJ, here's a question for you. Why are we against the term secede?
We had a civil war in the 1860s, and there are still people who equate the term secession with civil war. In the first Civil War, there were roughly 560,000 Americans that were killed, more killed than in all other wars combined, before and after. And that was at a time when, other than the Gatling gun, it still took about 30 seconds to fire one round. We now have weapons that fire anywhere from 600 to 6,000 rounds a minute. So ask yourself this. If 566,000 Americans died in Civil War 1.0, how many would die in Civil War 2.0? I joined this movement not because I was hell-bent to found a new nation. I joined this movement because I was hell-bent to save lives. This country is a single triggering event away from the start of the next Civil War. We see that every day on the streets of Minneapolis right now. And I do not want to do one single thing that is going to detract from what it is that we're trying to do. We're trying to fulfill the promise that was made 250 years ago. And believe me, we are trying to, and we will save lives. That's why I don't use that word.
Real quick, before we go to the next question, you all need to hear this. JJ, elevator speech. What happened when a CIA station chief of Afghanistan said you're wrong about civil war could happen, and then called you back and goes, I was wrong and you were right? What happened there, JJ?
There were a number of discussions when I started to write about this 10 years ago. And one of those discussions I had was with a former CIA station chief. And I was kind of picked apart at that time, suggesting that there could never be an insurrection. There could never be an effective insurrection in this country because insurrectionists wouldn't have communications, and they wouldn't have logistics, and they wouldn't have blah, blah, blah. Where are you going to put these people together? How are they going to get together? And then January 6th happened. And after January 6th, 2021, I got a call back from a retired guy who was the same guy, and who basically said, hey, I owe you an apology because you saw this coming and we didn't. And that was that. So that's the story.
So just think about that for a second. The CIA station chief over the Afghan Civil War told JJ, you're wrong. Civil war could never happen in America. And then after the Unite the Right rally, he called him and goes, whoops, I got it wrong. Think hard about that story because it keeps me up at night. You should be asking yourself. Okay, let's go to another question. By the way, everyone's saying you're doing a solid job. Once the blue ribbon panel happens, not even the vote for independence, not even a success, not even a vote proposed for independence, not even a vote approved for independence, just the blue ribbon panel is approved. Some people feel people are going to say California is ready to become independent, like we assumed, just announcing the panel. What are we going to do with all those blue state people coming back to Cali, JJ?
Welcome them with open arms. Because in the first instance, the first crop of people who would migrate to California would likely be people who are positioned financially to migrate. And the question I get asked all the time is, well, don't you feel bad about leaving behind the people who aren't financially able to migrate? And that's where we step back and say, look, when we are not sending $400 billion a year to Washington, a lot of things will happen right away. The first thing that will happen is that on day one, there will be universal health care for all Californians. On day one, there will be a program in place to build upwards of 1 million low and middle income housing. We will be able to accommodate people. We will be able to accommodate as many as come in. And believe it or not, there will be some that will leave. There'll be some that will leave because they'll want to go to Texas. They'll want to go to Florida. They'll want to live in a United States that never has a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives ever again, because they'll think that that meets their needs as well. So I think a mass migration is anticipated, and there will be two segments to that. There'll be the first segment where people who can afford to come to California right away will come to California, and a second segment where people will come to California because of what California is able to do by not sending $400 billion a year to Washington.
Okay. Please keep asking questions. We're going to answer them. Here's someone that people keep asking. Is Newsom aware of this? We do have a contact. Her name is Dr. Harmon. If you type in Kathleen Harmon, Queen of the Democrats, she's out of San Diego. When Kamala Harris came to campaign, she had to go meet Kathleen Harmon, Queen of the Democrats, first to get approval to do that. Kathleen has directly mentioned this to Newsom, and I have a picture of her and Newsom together. Now, does that mean he's fully backing it? I don't know, but he knows about it.
Marcus, let me comment on that as well. We are aware. We are aware that Newsom knows what we're doing, and if he's listening right now, I'd like to ask Governor Newsom a question. You're a potential candidate for president of the United States if there is an election in 2028, which I don't believe there will be. But you're a potential candidate. Now, what Donald Trump has done in 1 year, what he has done in 1 year will take decades to repair, if at all possible. Give him another 3 years, and it would take generations to repair, if at all possible. So if you're Gavin Newsom, and you have two choices, would you like your legacy to be he was the guy who went to Washington, spent 8 years there, and couldn't fix a damn thing that Trump had done? Or you're Gavin Newsom, and would you want your legacy to be as the George Washington of a sovereign California? Easy question, easy answer as far as I'm concerned. But yes, he is aware. And if you listen to all of the things that Gavin has begun to say since the very first Cal Exit article, which I think was in Newsweek, you have to see that he is half of the time saying things that he thinks will appeal to voters from coast to coast, and half the time preaching the Cal Exit talking points.
Okay, we're going to go to this one. So, yes, JJ's going to answer. I just want to say real quick. So, we lobby Sacramento. They push a resolution saying we want or we think the idea of a blue ribbon panel is great. Then they push a bill calling for the blue ribbon panel. That basically starts a catalyst effect of everything going. At some point, somebody has to go and ask for permission to leave. So when Texas versus White and it says consent to the states, yes, we mean consent of red states. So there's about 35 or 31 red states that voted for Trump. As JJ pointed out, we need 25. So
actually, Marcus, if I can just jump in for a second.
Jump in.
It's consent of the states means of state congressional delegations in the Congress. All right. So what that right now, currently there are 29 state delegations that are controlled by Republicans, 21 that are controlled by Democrats. Even if there were midterm elections, which again, I don't think there will be, and those numbers changed modestly, it's not going to change by 10. It's going to change by 1 or 2. So we can reasonably assume that we would still be negotiating or be lobbying rather at least 26, 27, 28 Republican controlled state congressional delegations. And so we would need to secure a simple majority, 26. And actually, Marcus, we don't need 25; we need 26. but in any case, we would still be in great shape. I think lobbying those 29 or 28 or 27 Republican-controlled state delegations, because it doesn't take a laser optic surgeon to figure out that if you remove California's 48, 50, or 52 Democratic members of Congress, Democrats will never again, in what remains of the United States, have a majority in the House of Representatives. That's like handing the Republicans the key to the city, the key to the state, the key to the nation, and I do believe that we would be successful in securing those numbers.
More states have voted hardcore red than we actually need votes from. That's the big idea, and that's why I brought up all these stats here, where it's like half of them hate us and don't even view us as Americans. 67-70% say we're net negative. That means you do nothing good at all. 83, 4/5 of them have said, I'll be dead before I ever go to California. And no one protested Marines sent against the domestic protest. No one protested artillery shells that could have got 30 people killed, or when he denied assistance. No Republican anywhere in America said, look, I don't like those commie bastards anyways, but you can't treat fellow Americans this way. You can't send combat troops against them. You can't deny them disaster assistance. You can't shoot artillery at them. Not one. And so when I look at half of them say, you're not American and I don't like you and you do nothing good, yeah, I think we got the votes really easy. JJ, what about the people and we're going to get to every question. Please make sure to post this. We're going to get to the equity banking question. JJ, what do we do about the red state people in California after we vote to become independent? What about the Republicans left here in California?
The same thing that you do with Democrats in Texas, the same thing that you do with Democrats in Florida or in Virginia or West Virginia or in Arkansas. They'll have an independent personal decision to make. Do I want to be? I mean, they're already living in a state controlled by Democrats. I mean, who was the last Republican to win statewide election other than Arnold Schwarzenegger? So they're living that now. It's simply that they're living it in a member state of the United States. That nothing changes necessarily for them. In fact, their lives are made better too, because they have universal health care. Their lives are made better too, because they have Roe v. Wade codified. Their lives are made better in every instance that a Democrat's life is made better or a progressive's life is made better in a sovereign California. So it's, again, a conservative living in a sovereign California is no different than a conservative living in a California where they can't win statewide election anyway. It's no different than a Democrat living in Texas or a Democrat living in Arkansas.
Yeah, so I want to point out, everybody, we have been doing really good on signups. If you can continue to sign up. In fact, we're going to take a quick 5-second break. 5-second break. Please go sign up if you can right now. We'll be back in about 5 seconds. But take this chance to go to calexitnow.org/act now. If you are watching this on any of the YouTube channels and you go to the description, the link is there. We'll be back in just a few seconds. Oh, wow. Okay, and we're back. As JJ said, this is democracy. You don't always get what you want. So if I go to Texas and I say, I don't like barbecue sauce or football or church on Sundays, and then I get outvoted, do I complain? No, it's Texas. This is the way it is. So people are going to be outvoted. I don't think there's going to be a lot of pushback. I live in a purple district, and I have surrounded by Republicans saying, "Oh, we'll leave if you become independent." Republicans have been saying that for 20 years. We lost a ton of people in the last year and a half who are mostly conservatives and sick and tired of it. I think we've lost most of the conservatives that are going to leave. What I think we have left is conservatives like the one I'm related to. They're going to moan and they're going to complain, but like I have family who said, hey, let's all move to Idaho. And all of their daughters, sons, grandkids, and wife said, hell no. So people who are left here are going to complain, but their families here, their business here, they're not going anywhere. Here we go. Currency and equity. JJ, what do we do about? And if you have questions, please keep asking them. We will get to that. Consent to the state. Okay, so just a second. When you sign up, we will email you. Give us a little bit of time. You are going to get an email. You won't get an email immediately. Give us about a day or two. We're putting things together, and we're going to get you the package. So please sign up. Please sign up, and we will get that to you. It won't be immediately. It'll be in about a day or two. We're here to answer every question. We want to get to somebody asked the question on, okay, currency and equity tied to the national banking. What happens with currency and what happens with equity and what happens with the national banking system, JJ?
Well, when a new sovereign nation is formed, the new sovereign nation has the right and entitlement to establish its own currency. And we certainly would be in a position to do that. There would obviously be, at that point, an exchange of currency, and in the same fashion that there would be an exchange of currency. And the best example, that's a sad example, but the best example is when Saddam Hussein fell. And a sovereign Iraq, a new Iraq was formed, a new currency was instituted. There was an interim currency. The U.S. dollar became the interim currency. But in this particular case, the beauty of a blue ribbon commission is that it contains experts in all areas that become relevant when the negotiations begin. I don't profess to be an expert on the national banking system, but on the Blue Ribbon Commission, and there would be experts with respect to currency and national banking system, and they would participate in the formulation of the report that would go to the governor, which would give the governor then the option of deciding whether or not a negotiating team would be sent to Washington. And all of those matters would be covered by the commission related to the governor in its final report, and if necessary, become a part of negotiations on our separation. Although those issues are more, at least again, I'm not being a banking expert, the issue of currency would be one that would be resolved by a sovereign California once separation was achieved.
We're going to end it there. We want to say thank you for everybody coming out. We know this ran a little bit long. We wanted to make sure that you have the questions answered. We will be back. There will be more. We want everybody to know this. Please sign up. Please volunteer. Sign up and we'll get a hold of you. We'll be doing more of these. Watch for more of these advertisements. And if you have any questions, you can email us here at volunteer@calexit.now. We're going to leave it there. Thank you all for coming. Everybody in the studio, please stay here. Everybody in the studio, please stay here. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.